Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are having a good time. I hope you've been watching all the previous videos and I hope you're learning. I hope you're taking down all the notes. Remember, this is for free. I'm going to be sharing all the information that you need to know, for you to actually achieve greatness in your research. I hope you subscribe. Please leave a comment. If you've got something that you're not so sure about, please leave a comment and I'm going to get back to you. I'm going to tell you everything that you're supposed to know about research writing, proposals, and everything. So, invite your friends to come and watch these videos because I'm going to be simplifying everything. I don't want to complicate anything on this platform. This platform is just for you to learn and understand basically everything with regards to research. So in my previous video, we did start looking at the structure of a proposal. So we went as far as the problem statement. So we didn't really talk about the problem statement, and that is the purpose for our today's video. We are going to be looking at the problem statement and what exactly it is that you're supposed to identify when you are looking at the problem statement. And then from the problem statement, we are going to continue until we look at the other areas of a proposal that you are expected to cover, or any other area that you're expected to simply cover and include to your instruction manual. So my name is Musonda, and I hope you're going to enjoy and learn a lot from this particular channel. So now, our section that we are going to start with is the problem statement. So now, in your proposal, the problem statement also will be one of those sections where you are simply required to talk about the reason why you are doing this research. Remember that every reason you are doing a research is simply come up with solutions to a problem that you've identified. So, in that particular research problem, you simply are supposed to talk about the different problems that you've seen. It's actually just the research gap that you've identified, and it's actually giving you the reason to simply, come up with this different procedures, with the different processes and procedures that will help you, different processes and procedures that will help you simply come up with solutions to that particular problem. So now, under your problem statement, so this is actually going to be our 1.2. So remember that every subsection in a research is supposed to be accorded a number that simply indicates the chapter where it belongs. So this information is supposed to be in chapter 1. So it's actually supposed to be 1.2. So remember that our introduction was 1.0, and then our background to the study was 1.1, and our problem identification or problem statement is going to be 1.2. So now, under the problem statement, so this research gap is basically supposed to be an issue that you feel is the reason why this particular research is important. Okay, so the issue here is that the problem should actually be a brief statement that just basically talks about what the research is expected to come up with. It's a brief issue that you feel should be resolved, or it's an issue that you think should be worked on in order for you to come up with solutions that you should apply to that particular area for the solutions to be identified. So it's actually supposed to be just a half a page, and it must be clearly stated. Okay, it must be clearly stated. So for example, if the issue of COVID in Zambia has not been widely studied, okay, if the issue of COVID in Zambia has not been widely studied, assuming there are very few studies that talk about, let's say, for example, let's give an example of adherence to COVID 19 measures. Okay, I'm just giving an example. So, adherence to COVID 19 measures, of course, we may not assume that the problem is the real problem until we get to conduct our research and then find out if that particular issue that we given as an assumption is the right thing, or it could also be contributing to the factors that are causing people not to adhere to um, COVID 19 guidelines. So, one of the issues that we may look at, of course, is the issue of lack of information. Okay, maybe we can assume that in certain communities or in certain compounds in Zambia, we have people that simply do not just have information on the importance of wearing masks, for example. So the lack of information can be attributed to policies maybe not being implemented fully, or maybe research not being conducted sufficiently to ensure that we get to find out also on the numbers of people that are not adhering to these guidelines that have been set up by the Ministry of Health. So that on its own is one of the issues that you can identify as one key a reason why you're supposed to conduct a research. So you've found a gap that there's information not availed to the public. Okay, since there's no information availed to the public, what are some of the things you're supposed to do in your research that will enable that information to be availed to the public? Okay, so another issue could also be maybe people are not understanding the policies. For example, if there's a policy document that is available with regards to sharing guidelines on COVID issues. What if those that cannot read or write do not have access to this document? Or if they did, maybe they are not able to read. Maybe this document is not simplified or simply translated so that the most common person on the ground could actually have an idea of what is required to be done. So these are issues that we could raise as some of the reasons why we in fact are conducting our research, or the reason why we need to conduct our study, to just simply identify what exactly is happening with regards to um, adhering to the provisions that have been accorded, you know the provisions that have been accorded by the government to enable people, understand what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. So, number one, you've identified a research gap that there's very limited literature available. So, you need to conduct that research study. So, another issue that you could identify is that there are no people do not have the knowledge on how to use some of these items or facilities that have been put in place. People just don't understand how to use them. So you've also identified another issue. People do not have knowledge. Okay, there is lack of knowledge among its community members on the importance of wearing masks. There is lack of knowledge on how to properly wear masks. There is lack of knowledge on the importance of washing hands after every encounter, or the importance of wearing um, or social distance. There's so many guidelines that currently exist about COVID. So you can identify those areas as some of the things that you think are the reason why you're supposed to conduct your research. So another research gap could be that the policy is not firmly structured. So maybe your research could help identify areas where government policies could be directly, concentrated on. Let's say, for example, if we have people that gather in public places and our policy is not so firm with regards to ensuring that people are educated on the need to avoid public spaces. So we can conduct a research to find out how frequent this is happening. We can conduct a research to find out the levels of adherence. Maybe if we can understand the levels of adherence by knowing how many people on the ground are adhering to these measures, then we can have an idea by simply conducting a research that will help us collect this information from the people, and then simply, come up with a research study that can help us um, overcome such circumstances. So that is basically how you simply identify a research problem. Another way of identifying a research problem could be, let's say, for example, I'm just giving an example of a research study where the students that seem to be failing in large numbers in a particular grade at a particular school or a particular community. So if you make a comparison, you seem to find out that there are so many students that have failed in this particular area. So you can conduct a research to find out why that situation was like that. You know, so you may not guess problem, a particular problem, and research is not about guessing. That is the advantage about research. Research, you don't guess. Even if you have, an idea to the problem, you may just assume that that particular idea is what is obtaining on the ground. But you need to follow the guidelines, the procedure of the research, in order for you to understand the truth. Okay, so we don't guess in research. We just need to conduct a study to understand why are pupils in such a compound failing compared to other pupils in such a compound. So there could be so many gaps that you can identify in such an instance. Maybe people don't understand the curriculum. Is it maybe the quality of the teachers in that area? Could it be that there are some other issues that we may not understand, and that is the reason why we decided to conduct a research. So you can identify a problem as, in this particular area, most students have actually failed compared to this area. So that on its own is a problem. So why are we having these pupils failing compared to these others? So in that aspect, we now need to conduct a research to identify what exactly is the problem in that particular area. Okay, so we need to now come up with, a paragraph. Okay, it could just be half a page, just giving a description of what the scenario is, or is all about. I gave an example of the COVID scenario, so you can even identify numbers in terms of the infection rate. Say this particular area, 4,000 people have been, COVID infections are increasing. So what is the gap? So the problem statement is just about identifying the research gap. You talk about the problem. Don't talk about things that seem obvious. And sometimes people talk about the research problem as if they already know what the problem is. You're supposed to identify a problem by simply looking at the gap. You don't know the actual problem, and that's the reason why you are supposed to simply conduct this research in order for you to find the answers that are, are very formal, or the answers that will help you come up with the solution to this particular problem. Okay, so that is what the research problem identification is all about. So in my next video, I'm going to continue talking about the research objectives. That is the general objective of the study, and then also I will be talking about the specific objectives of the study and how you simply identify these. Okay, the next video will basically talk about the research objectives and how you identify good research objectives for a particular research. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, leave a comment. If you've got any problem about your research that you don't seem to understand, leave a comment, or you can simply send me a message on the number that is on the page. I'll see you next time. Enjoy the videos.